A new Australian film called Waterhorse is releasing in Australia digitally and on disc. And it's my great pleasure to be speaking to the director of Waterhorse, Jennifer van Gessel. Jennifer, welcome to Movie Metropolis.
Hey, thanks for having me, Peter.
We're having a little laugh because I've had technical issues. Anyway, let's forget that. Let's talk about let's talk about the film. And it's such an intriguing faux documentary or mockumentary found footage film. Tell me about the inspiration behind making Waterhorse.
Okay, so I guess with any film, there's a lot of inspirations, but filmmaker wise, I, I love the horror genre, found footage films. You mentioned the Blair Witch before. That was, I guess, the first one I saw that really blew me away because I watched it on my brother's PlayStation and thought it was real for about a day. So um but the real inspiration for sort of making a movie like Waterhorse was the films maybe of Koji Shiraishi, who's a Japanese filmmaker. I lived in Japan for 7 years, and that's actually when I got in really into found footage films, and I watched all of his movies. um his movie Noroi, it means the curse, is a huge inspiration for Waterhorse because it just stuck in my head for years after I saw it. And it's another reason I wanted to do the documentary format because I just loved it in that film and other films that I've seen too. Rather than just the straight found footage. But the real reason for that, because I have had people say, why didn't you just do it as a straight found footage? I've directed a couple of documentaries, and it was my first time directing a non-documentary film. So it was just a really easy transition, and I felt really comfortable doing it in that format. But yeah, so the idea sort of came from my sister's partner's aunt. Had told me about uh, at Lake George near Canberra, there's meant to be portals under the water that if you go in there, you come out in another lake. And being always being interested in the Celtic mythological creature, the Kelpie, thinking, that would make a great villain in a movie. It just seemed like something a Kelpie would mess with. So yeah, it all kind of went from there.
Okay. The whole paranormal thing is so interesting, and you develop it so well to a quite an intriguing conclusion, which of course we're not going to spoil for the audience. Uh, so, Jennifer, this film took a number of years to make, and it was obviously difficult getting production behind you, budgets, all that sort of thing. Tell me about that process for you.
Yeah, so it was really it was sort of like a very like a passion project, you say. Like we work on things. I'm primarily a writer and I write things for people or myself, and it can take 5 to 10 years for it to actually get up with a decent budget. And, those things are usually ticking away in the background. But in the meantime, I think a lot of people want to go out and create things. And that's what Waterhorse was. So, it didn't have a huge budget at all. It was just sort of like, let's just do this. Because we really just want to create something together, and everyone really loved the script, and it obviously was written in the found footage format, which does help with the budget. I mean, there are really big budget found footage films, and it maybe costs more than some people might think. But the real problem with Waterhorse was we started it at the end of 2019, and of course, you know what happened. The world sort of shut down. First, though, before that, we had a fire burnt down at our main location, which was in Mogo, the mining village there. It had been there since the actual mining days, but when we were going to use it, it burnt down in those horrific fires. And it was so sad because I mean I'd been going there like for years, and took my nephews there, and like lots of great memories, but it would have also been an amazing location to film at. So another mining town wasn't the easiest thing to find. we did eventually find one, but that set us back, and then COVID set us back again. And then we went after COVID to film one of the most important, crucial scenes of the movie, where there's a lake involved. That's all I'll say. And the landscape, there had been floods this time. So by the time we got back there, the floods had completely changed the landscape. Instead of a nice incline into the water, there was just a big drop off, and we just couldn't use it and had to go and reshoot a bunch of things. We had to reshoot a bunch of stuff we'd shot because it just didn't match up anymore, or it was too old. And like, yeah, it did actually, like, we joke about it a lot that there's a curse in the movie, and we felt like it was kind of cursed in reality as well. But it's just, low budget filmmaking, and the nature of the world, I guess. So yeah, we felt very happy to finally get there in the end.
Well, congratulations on persevering and getting the film made, because it's certainly I'm so glad that you did finish it, and it's now that we can see it. Um, Tell me a few things. First of all, about your cast. How did you find your cast?
So I'd worked with Dean Keelwood on another film, actually two other films. He was in the first feature that I wrote and produced called Beast No More, just in a smallish role. But I had heard about him because we're both from Newcastle, and we actually played in bands back in the day. My band supported his band a long time ago, and I'm much younger than him, so I remembered him, but I don't think he remembered me. But then I was shooting Beast No More, and I just wanted to work with him, and he had the right look for the role. So, we got talking, and I think we talked for hours the first time we talked, and we just became really good friends. But he's also a really talented actor, and I mean, I guess that's always a useful friend to have when you're in film. Um, but uh but no, like, I mean, we are very much friends outside of it too. But it was just really a chance to give him this time a bigger role, and give him a lead role, and just see what he did with it. And he we looked at quite a few different versions of Diane, and but then I met Lauren Grimson, and I just right away could see she's a really amazing actress. And there was just no other choice after meeting her in person, and seeing them two together and their chemistry. And they have a friendship too, which I think it just really worked and made the film feel really natural. And they were both super relaxed together. And really just they blew me away sometimes with their performances in this. And I just don't understand, like, if anyone's watching that's a casting director or something, like, get them out there, like, they're amazing. And there's a lot of other smaller roles in the movie, and it was just, yeah, like, different people I'd met that I wanted to work with, and had so many roles, could just give them a chance and see how they went. And got a couple of people I'd worked with also on Beast No More back, like Jess Tovey, who's just a brilliant actress. I mean, she's not on the screen for a super long time in this, but she makes such a memorable cameo. I think, like, she's just always quality. And there's people like her I'd always get in the film if there's the right role, because they'll just make you look good as a director.
Well, well done on that. It's a very good cast, and they all did a good job. And also behind the scenes, because it took you, as you said, 4 years for various reasons, in terms of the cinematography, the continuity of the scenes and so on, how easy was that for you to manage?
That was not easy. I mean, when you're doing it over such a long period of time, and plus that we did have to shoot some of it during COVID, and people had different, you know, feelings about that, even though it was legal and we were allowed to shoot in certain areas or whatever. Um, you know, some people still didn't want to come out and do it. And yeah, I totally understood that too. I think we held off as long as we sort of could with that. But yeah, we didn't so we had to like sort of just go with who was available and who would help. And I feel like in the end we had about three different camera people, and I filmed a lot of it myself. And but the main person that like we wanted for the I don't know if anyone noticed when they watched it, but there's different aspect ratios to tell you whose camera it is. So when it's I think it's six in it when it's the 235 crop, it's Reggie filming. And for Reggie's camera, I always wanted it to be Goldie, who was our prime DOP filming. And so I sort of made sure she could do all of the stuff that Reggie was meant to be shooting. So at least there was consistency there. In a found footage film, you can get away with like, because it is also documentary style, different formats and different cameras. And I did really feel sorry for the editor when I gave him all the footage because there were so many different cameras, so many different formats, and he just sort of had to figure that all out.
Yes, I was going to ask you about the editing because that must have been a nightmare with, as you said,
Yeah.
with different aspect ratios and so on. So congratulations on achieving all that.
Oh, congrats to the editor, Dan Berghofer. He's amazing. I think he really loves found footage movies too. So he was super keen to dive in, and he never complained about it or anything. He just did it. So yeah, but I did feel a bit, you know, like that was as an because I edit sometimes myself, mainly like news and sports though. But if someone gave me that, I'd probably want to cry. Like I did feel a bit bad for him.
Oh well, it's good to see the outcome. Now, and in terms of outcome, getting a film seen is so important. It's great that Bounty Films have come on board. Tell me about where else the film has screened and how difficult it was to get it out there in cinemas or digitally and all that sort of thing.
So I guess like the distribution world for low budget films is quite um it's not like I mean if you have a movie that's half decent, you can get it out there. I've worked with a sales agent, like an international American sale. He's American, no, he's Canadian, but he lives in America, but he's an international sales agent. And I worked with him for a few years. So sort of learned about the distribution paths and, you know, uh, all of that. But after selling a couple of films to distributors and, thinking this is a great deal, you soon find out that they're keeping you in the red and you're never going to make money off of your movie that, you put a ton of money into, or you get offered a really offensive license to like $2,000 for your $1 million movie to play exclusively on this streamer for 5 years, and you just have to say no to that. Like I think any independent filmmakers know this struggle, and
Mm.
so I just sort of was looking for a deal that I mean, I think I know all the red flags now and all the things to look out for. And I mean, I understand why distributors do that, by the way, because they have to make money too, and it's very hard. There's, for example, in the horror genre, there's so many films. But I had a few people looking at Waterhorse because the producer Rachel Wiggins and myself had got it out to quite a lot of people, and lots of people are sitting on the fence with it because it's found footage, and not everyone loves found footage. There's a lot of haters, but there's also a lot of people that like it. So lots of people were sort of umming and ahhing about it, and I was contacted by Leslie at Bounty, and him and Paul just actually really loved the film, and I had another offer. I had just got another offer for it, and but they actually just really loved it, and like really enjoyed the film, and you could tell they'd watched it. With half the distributors I've dealt with, I wonder sometimes if they even watched the movie or knew anything about it. So
Mm.
these guys really just had a passion for it, and they're willing to work with the filmmakers to make a good deal, and a fair deal. So I just yeah, it's just been a really great experience working with them, and I'd encourage any sort of, especially Australian independent filmmaker, to have a chat to them, and because I think they've got big plans, and they're going to grow. I think they take on a lot of they've got a lot of great movies at the moment. When Waterhorse was coming out, I was looking what else they have, and yeah, some really good. You've probably seen them, some really good movies.
Yes.
So Mm.
Yeah. Oh, that's excellent. Yes, I'm very impressed with Bounty Films and their release patterns and their production advice to filmmakers, etc., which is very
Yeah, and
good.
I mean
Yeah.
that we did have a premiere in the cinema. We sold it out, so I feel like we could have done a few more, but I think this like getting things in the cinema these days, unless you're trying to satisfy the producer offset for a film like this, it's not really crucial that it has a cinematic run. But everyone loves seeing their film in the cinema, of course. And we thought about doing a few more screenings, and we might still do that because we did have such a
Mm.
success. So we are sort of thinking about one in there might be one in Newcastle soon. Fingers crossed, because a lot of people from Newcastle worked on the movie and couldn't get a ticket to the Sydney premiere. So, um, yeah, it was great though, seeing it up there.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad. Hopefully that will work out. Tell me, where it has screened in Sydney, etc., what sort of reactions did you receive?
It was really great actually. Like, I've sort of, like, because it is found footage, and I mean, I get why people don't like it because it's they're used to looking at Marvel movies and things. Like the type of people who watch those movies, I think, struggle to, see this as a the same way, I guess. Like, whereas the people who love found footage like really love it and just watch all of them. But so there were mixed reactions, but um, all good. Like everybody was, I mean, when it ended and our names started coming up, like especially the actors, everyone was cheering and everything. And it was just, and afterwards, so many people I didn't even hadn't met before, or maybe people I'd had on my Facebook for like 10 years and never met them in real life, had come to the premiere and came up to me afterwards to tell me how much they loved it. And or just to give it some praise or respect for what it was. And yeah, it was a really overwhelmingly good response. And it was weird watching it and people laughing at things, and you're like, oh, are they laughing at it, or are they laughing because it's meant there are some funny moments in it. But and also everyone there knows the actors. But so you're like, oh, did I make it too funny? Like you sit there thinking all these things. Because I laugh when I watch it, but I made it. So, yeah, no, but it was overwhelmingly good. And it was great to see a lot of, other independent filmmakers that I didn't really know come and buy a ticket and support it. And like, yeah, it's to sell it out. Like so many people wanted a ticket and were bugging me and I couldn't get them one. So, yeah, it was really good.
Oh, well, it's good to get those sorts of reactions, and that's inspiring to then continue making films. And on that note, Jennifer, are you uh, making another film at the moment?
Yeah, I've got like there's always a few things, in the works. I've written a bunch of things. I think COVID and then the writers' strikes sort of delayed a lot of stuff.
Mm.
But just started getting paid to write a lot of stuff for a couple of US companies and here in Australia too. And I got Screen Australia funding for a feature of my own that's hopefully going to be made next year. I've got to keep working on the script. It's all on me right now, but that's quite a bigger budget film, and there's some really huge players coming on board that one. I can't really say much now,
Mm.
but I've got all these meetings for it, and it's just super exciting. But that's the one that, it takes time to get those ones going. And it's called Langton, and it's set in the 1800s in Yorkshire in England. It focuses on a historical figure, Anne Lister, and a period of her life, but it's using a kind of gothic approach, cinema approach to telling her story, which I think is something people haven't seen, and I think it'll resonate with that sort of young modern horror audience.
Mm.
Even though it's not like a slasher or something or bloody, it's yeah, I think it's quite an interesting film, and a lot of people are excited about it. But I'm also in pre-production for another film to shoot here in Australia in January next year, pending, another uh, outbreak or another flood or fire. Yeah, it's sort of. I would say it's not a found footage film, but it's got elements, I think, of found. It's a bit of a sort of mix of it's experimental, let's put it that way. I don't wanna give it away because there's
No.
things, that we're doing with it that, it's yeah, might ruin parts of the movie. So, but yeah, it's a bit experimental and, a bit artsy and, sort of taking a trying something new and getting out of my comfort zone with that one. So but again, it's really just been the people working with me and the actors giving me the confidence to do that, everybody supporting what I'm doing and liking what I'm doing, I guess. So yeah, that one's called Find My Bones and it is a horror. It's but yeah, I think it's a bit more than a horror, it's a bit of an art film as well.
They both sound very interesting. I hope they all work out, and I look forward to seeing them. That's fantastic, Jennifer. Jennifer, two quick final questions. What was it that inspired you to become a filmmaker in the first place?
That's a super hard question because since I was, like, I'm serious, like, able to walk and talk, my dad, he had a he went and bought like a digibeta camera and professional like lights like redheads and stuff and he'd film our like Christmases and things like this and just always had the camera and since I was able to sort of think about stories and those sorts of things I started taking his camera and making movies and um like just silly home things with my brother and sister and like we ended up recruiting our friends and but yeah, like, I mean, ever since I can think of, I've been coming up with even in primary school, I won a poetry award for writing this story, and, I just always wanted to be the person that creates the stories because 'cause I've always had all these ideas, and it's just something you have to get out, like, something I have to do, and, yeah, I guess my dad always having that camera was, a bit of an inspiration. I wanted to be like him and film everything, so probably that.
Very interesting to hear that. Yes, it's always good to talk to filmmakers about their background and process in terms of what attracted them to filmmaking. So that's great, Jennifer. And last question, have you seen anything else of late, in cinema, television, anywhere that impressed you?
Wow. I'm trying to think what I've seen lately. Yeah, well, there's I've been like I think most people watching the Monsters series on Netflix with the Menendez brothers right now. I think those true crime things I'm a sucker for those. In fact, I just watch a lot of documentaries and true crime stuff like it's really I go through phases where I just wanna watch those, like, I don't wanna watch, fictional things, but so I just watched that, which, I mean, the acting and everything's just amazing, and, but, like, locally or, maybe I'm trying to think, what I've watched. Jeez.
That's okay.
Um,
No, no, that's
mm.
fine. That description is good. That shows me what your interests are as well.
Oh,
Okay.
I've
Yep.
been sort of involved in another film that hopefully will happen that it is based on a true crime in Australia and I yeah, I don't know, like I've been working on the script with other people and uh, yeah, that's hopefully also gonna happen next year, but there's, it's always a journey, but, so I've been trying to watch the true crime stuff to get a feel for that, but, yeah, I do hope to make more of that stuff myself in the future, so I always watch, those types of things.
Fair enough too. Look, thank you for that. We've been speaking to writer-director Jennifer van Gessel, whose film Water Horse is now on release digitally and on disc, courtesy of Bounty Films. Have a look at it. It's a very interesting and intriguing film with a few twists in it. Jennifer, thank you so much for talking with me.
No, thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.